Hello, and this is Camnet Television Main News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo to present our top stories in the news tonight. KACHASU brewers in garden compound at loggerheads with government. Huge spending by political parties undermining the viability of democracy, charges TIZ. Government has charged that homegrown innovations key to job creation. In international news, dozens killed in violence in volatile unity state in South Sudan. And in sports news, sports minister advises women to rise above and take up sports administrative roles. And now the news in detail. Community members of Lusaka's garden compound have challenged government to create alternative solutions before destroying their only source of income. Speaking to the media when Minister of Local Government Garen Kombo and the local authority raided their area, a hub for KACHASU brewers, one of the residents says KACHASU brewing in the area is their main income generating activity, which cannot be ignored unless other empowerment measures are put in place. Meanwhile, Local Government and Rural Development Minister Garen Kombo Tuesday raided KACHASU brewers in Lusaka's garden compound in the company of state and council police and destroyed several drums of KACHASU and warned the brewers to desist from such illegal acts. More in this report.
KACHASU brewing is a common business in most compounds of Zambia, and Lusaka province tops the list as most families in compound depend on brewing of KACHASU as their own source of income. The alcohol content in KACHASU is not known but believed to be very high, causing a lot of those who consume KACHASU to lose their senses after consuming it. Local Government and Rural Development Minister Garen Kombo Tuesday afternoon raided KACHASU brewers in Lusaka's garden compound in the company of the state and council police and poured drums of KACHASU that were being found brewed.
Inkani amene chitika muchimunzi iononga abantu mwamvera iononga abantu olo chinkale bwanji kulibe pamene tizavomera ife boma amene inabwera manje kuvemekeza kuti vana vavanzatu bazifera mu KACHASU. Vana vamene vafunika kuti vaende ku maskulu, vana vamene vafunika kuti vakankale ma doctor, vakankale ma nesi, vakankale ma president vaonongokera mu KACHASU. Kuno ndiye kwamene kupangika vamene muitana ati majanki.
Criminality levels have also increased in the country owing to the fact that productivity levels have reduced among men, women and the youths as they spend most of their valuable time drinking KACHASU in these compounds.
Sometimes ole mwana wamene samvera pa nyumba ni kutenga kamutengo na kumushapa. Chifukwa chakuti ngati mwamusirira chabe ni chimwana we mwamuononga. So nifuna niraire kuno sitizasiya tayambalero sitizasiya kusiya imwe mamene munkala kuno kupaya bana babanzanu mwambesesa ka ndiye final yamene nabwera ukamba ine wamene nikamba pano ndine Nkombo Garen Kombo.
And a community member member has appealed to the minister to provide KACHASU brewers with other sources of income and ensure that junkies are removed from this compound if the KACHASU business is to be brought to an end.
Tifuna pali majanki na yebe msevenzerepo basi msevenzerapo nishina bantu wazareka kupika because wanu mwamini wa mwana wapikira mamola ndi mwana wapezera ndalama zochitira survive so wezi mwataya wasakirieni na vochita.
For others, the decision has been repealed, saying it is their own source of income in which they look after their families. The community then started to throw stones on police officers who later fired tear gas to displace the crowds. Prudence Chota reporting for Camnet TV News.
General workers contracted by the Lusaka City Council Tuesday stormed LCC offices to claim their 2 months' salary arrears. Speaking to Camnet TV, Kelvin Mutale explains that failure by the council to pay them their dues has affected their livelihood. Meanwhile, Lusaka City Council Town Clerk Alex Mwansa has refuted claims that the workers have not been given salaries in 2 months, stating that the wage bill has been delayed by 3 weeks and 3 days. More in the following report.
In accordance with the Employment Code Act of 2019, an employer is under the obligation to pay the worker when due and payable on hourly, daily, fortnight, and monthly basis. The piece rate employees have to be paid on the completion of their task. However, wages of piece rate, daily or hourly employees can be accumulated and paid after a month if agreed between the two parties. General workers take up various supporting tasks in different institutions such as construction and transportation of materials and equipment. Some general workers at Lusaka City Council have demanded their 2 months' wage arrears.
And then, ukufuma March, April na April, 26 na April. Meaning, bambi wakafora mu March, mu May, oro wakatampo kufora. Iya March. Nomba April ni tukafora lisa. If you do not finish mtengo imiendere ya transport tatule kwata ma transport chonse fe bare firo kushitana ngano kutontonganisha pa president bantu fe abachikate kwe bati bari rande fintu ife fire bomba not corruption not fintu ife akwati fya ufufu ntungu but pa kanso ufufu ntungu bwena bwingi
announcement that vakanso vafora whereby stifora no fora wana so amena amapereka information kuja kuri wa president not akazipereka information yazo na active vantu vafora pa kanso per month not akazipereka information ya boza and one union yetina sankapana they are doing nothing, totally nothing. Useless.
They explained to Camnet News how difficult it has been to cope with life without their monthly pay.
Kuisa 2 months kwamba last month na ino April tatula fola ifi yakuja tatikuetea malaiti hapa ni shire mutu na lalo mwafita but shire muntu ndabomba na bomba kuma Chinese batuchire kwa bomba mkanso muboma
bafola ndrama cyane so tidabwati ni kanso iti amene baforesha izo ndrama bakuti mawekazi pano tina 2 months 2 months 64 manje ni kanso iti amene akambati baforesha so tipe mhaba president bakabwere pano ita de matauni kirakiwa meya na union watu amene tina sanka baboza na minister of local government huyu akabwere pano kai ndiye amene baona samonga adivenda council si foresha wale.
Meanwhile, Lusaka City Council Town Clerk has refuted claims that the workers have not been paid their wages in 2 months.
It's not actually 2 months. We've delayed the March wage bill for 3 weeks and 3 days. And so we had a few employees who came in the morning to just air their grievances regarding the delayed payment of salaries and wages. So we talked to them and assured them that we put measures in place to ensure that their salaries are paid as a matter of priority.
An employer may not limit the right of an employee to dispose of his or her wages. Blessings Chakwila, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Senior Chief Kalindawalo of the Nsenga-speaking people in Petauke district of Eastern Province is delighted with the reduction of malaria cases in Petauke. The senior chief says reduction in malaria is a clear indication that the government does not want to leave anyone behind. The traditional leader says the fight against malaria should not be left to government, but that everyone should take personal responsibility. Details in this report.
Senior Chief Kalindawalo of the Nsenga-speaking people in Petauke district of Eastern Province has applauded government for the efforts made to reduce high number of malaria cases. 25th April 2022, Zambia commemorated World Malaria Day, to which Health Minister revealed that the country has significantly made progress on malaria cases from 428 per 1,000 population in 2020 to 340 per 1,000 population in 2021. While most cases are recorded in rural areas, Petauke in Eastern Province has received a fair share of improvement in the containment of malaria. The traditional leader has in this regard praised government for putting up measures that has in turn reduced malaria cases in Petauke district. The senior chief was speaking at Kaulu Day Secondary School in a speech read on his behalf by senior induna Samuel Mwanza.
Okondwera chalo okondwera nenda kuti muno muziko yake ya Petauke kusenga muno malaria ya tomhako ya chepako pachifukwa nichi luso ya waza umoyo pakuyaba maukonde ku anthu kufafaza mafalo ofunikira manyumba ndiponso ngakhale chiphunziso chokupereka kunena kuti ngakhale malo asunkhala mauzu akakula kukwapa zinyalala izitofuikira kunena kuti ni muvyalika luyimbo.
Meanwhile, Petauke District Administrative Officer Vincent Chibuya, who spoke on behalf of Petauke District Commissioner Martha Molenga, says the district has a huge task to eliminate malaria transmission by the year 2026.
We have a huge task ahead of us to eliminate local malaria transmission by 2026. This fight against malaria can only be won within the framework of public, private, civil society partnership with the ordinary citizens at the epicenter of this collaboration. Let us inform all our communities to change their old behavior of refusing their houses to be sprayed, not going for antenatal clinics and using mosquito nets for fishing, trying charcoal bags, curtains to mention but a few. I wish to know that Petauke district has trained 480 community health workers in integrated community case management. Currently, they are able to test and treat malaria cases in our communities.
Meanwhile, District Hospital Director Dr. Richie Siabwalo says the reduction in malaria cases has been so because of several interventions government has put in place.
As a district, we've seen a reduction in the incidences of malaria, starting from 2021, where we saw from 2020, where we saw a slight increase, and then a reduction in 2020 going into 2022. This has come in because of the high impact interventions that we put in place as a district in order to combat malaria. You will know that we've been distributing ITNs to the population, the under 5 children, as well as to the pregnant mothers.
Zambia has recorded over 6.3 million cases of malaria in 2021 and 1,480 deaths, in most cases being recorded in rural areas. Sharon Kalimbola, Camnet News.
Transparency International Zambia, TIZ, has called for the fine-tuning of the political parties bill in order to regulate spending and sources amongst political parties during elections. TIZ Zambia Democratic Governance lead Chimuka Nachibinga says political parties have to disclose their sources of funding to avoid state capture by interested persons and entities. He says huge spending in politics undermines the viability of democracy and development. He was speaking during the CSOs and academia training workshop on legislative and regulatory frameworks of the political party and campaign financing. More in this report.
The issue of sources of funding for political parties has been a bone of contention in Zambia, and the 2021 general election was no exception. But it has been about the perception based on suspicion, as political parties cannot be compelled to disclose the source of funding, as there is no such law at the moment. The 2021 polls saw big money spending mounted by the Patriotic Front, the United Party for National Development UPND, and the Socialist Party, according to the report that was conducted by Transparency International Zambia, which revealed that the three political parties were among big spenders during the campaign period. The fear is that if political parties are not being regulated, the country risks being captured by people with selfish interests over the country's resources. Ahead of the 2021 poll, money was in abundance to the extent that others converted the currency into beddings at the expense of the majority poor Zambians. In some instances, citizens had to line up for money during political events. And Transparency International Zambia Democratic Governance lead Chimuka Nachivinga says there is a need to regulate political party fundings.
People think that if they have got more money, they can buy their way through as far as leadership is concerned. So it has also distorted the attitude or thinking about the citizens. So right now, citizens think that if somebody has got money, that's the only person that they can elect to leadership. But things don't work like that. We want, as Transparency International Zambia, to ensure that we have got this piece of legislation enacted and also implemented in Zambia so that we can have the political environment leveled in terms of political parties sourcing for their funds, and also ensuring that we have got a mark in terms of how much money a political party can use in a country as far as our campaigns are concerned.
Meanwhile, Caritas Democracy and Governance Officer Wublod Kangala says political parties must be regulated through the Political Parties Bill and emphasize the need on community mobilization so that the process can be citizen-driven.
Because remember, these are the finances that, if anything, will influence at some point how these people, once they are given the power or the mantle to govern us, how they are going to, govern the country. And it's the same funding, if not, if anything, disclosed and be told where the funding is coming and the intention of the funders. That if you're not as citizens and as civil society organizations taking advantage and wanting to know the source, will influence even the policy. Because surely for someone to fund, sometimes they're seeing huge funds of money being deposited into these political parties, accounts. There should be some motives behind that. So it's always important as a country to have such a piece of legislation in place so that we start regulating and also taking advantage of such a piece of legislation as civil society.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Former United Party for National Development UPND Monze Urban Ward Councillor Wumba Pandwe has condemned the stance taken by the opposition Patriotic Front Media Director to disparage President Hakainde Hichilema and the Tonga people in general. In a statement to Camnet TV, Mr. Pandwe notes that the Patriotic Front Party has failed to provide proper checks and balances to the ruling party, adding that they have reduced the democratic space to debates on issues of ethnicity. The former civic leader has in this regard accused Mr. Nakachinda and other members of the party of trying to divert people's attention from real issues of their alleged plunder of public resources committed by them. Meanwhile, Mr. Pandwe has advised the Patriotic Front to accept defeat, reflect and understand that the UPND administration is doing fine thus far. He says it is time the Zambian people rose to the occasion and denounced such divisive politics in Zambia.
we want to rise to the occasion and say to these political riffraffs that enough is enough to politics of insults, division and tribe. Let the clique relax and reflect. PF, accept the 2021 crushing election defeat and then reflect on the bad things that you actually subjected the people of Zambia. One advice I'll give you is that in the reflection, you should actually equally be able to account to the Zambian people. You're very laughable. You would even hear Nakachinda from that bad audio. How can a man of Nakachinda's caliber start comparing himself to President Hakainde Hichilema over the issue of exposure? Exposure to what? Exposure to theft or insults? Or what exactly? The answer is best known by ourselves.
Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, Chipoka Mulenga, has challenged innovators in the country to take ownership over their innovations by registering them with a Patent and Company Registration Agency, PACRA, in order to protect their work from being stolen. Mr. Mulenga, who spoke at the commemoration of the Intellectual Property Day Tuesday morning, says government has set aside resources meant to support innovations and has challenged innovators to take advantage of the opportunity. Meanwhile, Science and Technology Minister Felix Mutati says one of the greatest challenges in the registration of intellectual properties is that of false information, which indicate that it is difficult for one to secure their innovation. More in this report.
Tuesday, 25th April 2022, Zambia joined the rest of the world in commemorating the World Intellectual Property Day, which falls on the 25th day of April of each year. The 2022's Intellectual Property Day has been commemorated under the theme IP and Youths Innovating for a Better Future. Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry Chipoka Mulenga, who graced the occasion, has encouraged innovators in the country to take ownership over their innovations seriously by ensuring that it is registered with a Patent and Company Registration Agency, PACRA.
Many times we've seen our brothers and sisters in this country have come up with a lot of innovations, but because they've never taken ownership of it, it has been taken away from them. And others who have got more money, more publicity, they've claimed ownership of it, and we have lost in return. So we are asking as a government, we are asking as a ministry, and we are asking as an agency through PACRA, come, bring your innovations. Do not be scared to conquer what has not been done before.
Mr. Mulenga adds that the government has set aside resources to support innovations, which has the capacity to transform the country. Meanwhile, Science and Technology Minister Felix Mutati has spoken to the fact that so much false information surrounds the registration of one's innovation, which needs to be addressed.
From a government perspective, we remain alive to the fact that there are challenges that we must be able to tackle and continue to tackle. One is there is a perception that we have cumbersome procedures in terms of registering our intellectual properties, but much more so the renewals of those properties that have been registered, in particular with PACRA.
And one of the innovators, Tenazio Mwanza, says Zambians need to start believing in themselves if they have to avoid being exploited by outsiders, and that it is an example of those who have a vision to change the energy.
Industrial growth almost fueled up by foreign investors. So it gives you an indication that literally we are literally just, can I say walking the talk or leaving the talk?
The two ministers then proceeded to visit the stands of some of the innovators who are working at solving challenges faced in the country through their innovations.
So we are trying to install these units in their kitchen units so that they cut down on the cost, and at the same time they use it for producing gas for learning. Because the challenge the schools are facing now is they don't have gas, they don't have money to buy gas for experiments and all these sciences. So we believe we can provide this technique, technology, beyond just providing it for cooking.
It works on using a swing mechanism. Yeah, it allows the groundnuts to, the short groundnut to drop. So you don't need to completely rotate it.
The IP system aims to foster an environment in which creativity and innovations can flourish. Prudence Jota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The International Coalition of Fellowships, ICOF, colleges, seminary and universities has called on the church and other private entities to support government's commitment of making education free up to tertiary level through offering bursaries where possible. Speaking when handing over admission letters for Lusaka Province to the Lusaka District Commissioner Tuesday, ICOF Vice-Chancellor Professor Charles Mwape says the organization has reserved a total number of 5,000 scholarships at diploma level each year for the next 5 years, targeted at vulnerable students across beginning in 2022. In receiving the letters, Lusaka District Commissioner Ms. Rosa Zulu says the gesture is welcome as it will help in the offloading of a number of youths off the streets into various colleges across the country. More in this report.
Each academic year in Zambia has not been free from a number of protests arising from students who have been left out on government student loan systems. Due to high poverty levels in the country, many parents cannot afford to educate their children at tertiary level, leading to a high number of school leavers being left out on the streets. The United Party for National Development UPND administration has expressed its desire to provide more learning opportunities for citizens, as witnessed through the provision of free education from primary to secondary school level. Limitations have however remained in terms of tertiary education, leading to a high number of students missing out on opportunities. The International Coalition of Fellowships, ICOF, Seminary and Universities, a non-profit Christian organization, however, says it has come on board to aid government efforts through providing 5,000 diploma scholarships each year for the next 5 years. Speaking when handing over bursary acceptance letters for Lusaka Province to the Lusaka District Commissioner Tuesday, ICOF Vice-Chancellor Professor Charles Mwape says the money was raised through donations from member churches and that vulnerability assessment for 2022 was done at district level by the Department of Social Welfare. Professor Mwape has urged other churches and private organizations to emulate the gesture.
Our appeal is to provincial administration, because in this program, district commissioners are key implementers in this program. And we expect support from the provincial administration. We can safely confirm that all 116 district commissioners are supporting us, but they are facing challenges from the provincial administration to support the program. For us as ICOF, our understanding is that colleagues that are serving this administration must understand the vision of the president of providing free education from primary to tertiary education. And our coming in is supplementing government effort for this government to deliver the free education to the Zambian people.
Meanwhile, Lusaka District Commissioner Ms. Rosa Zulu, who was receiving the letters for Lusaka Province, says this will help in reducing unproductivity among the youth.
The government is aware of the many challenges being faced by the youth, which include poverty, unemployment, HIV/AIDS, child labor, unwanted pregnancies, early marriages, and illiteracy. Among others, the government, through the able leadership of the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, remains committed in addressing these challenges to achieve improved livelihoods for our youths.
The scholarship program will run for the next 5 years, with a targeted total of 27,000 beneficiaries across the country. 10% of the scholarships have been reserved for persons with disabilities, with 50% being reserved for females, as one way of bridging inequalities. Government, through the Ministry of Community Development and Social Welfare, as well as the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Arts, are expected to start contributing to the scholarships beginning 2023 with a contribution of 20% each. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with more news after this break.
Savanda. Save nations, develop Africa. Connecting African countries to each other and connecting the African continent to the world. This logistics and global supply chain management group offers end-to-end solutions across all sectors of the economy. Agriculture, energy, telecommunications, finance, construction, transportation, and insurance. And now, its initiatives are greener than ever, operating in line with government guidelines and working to provide energy security for Zambia and beyond. 25 companies united under one group and one vision. Savenda, trade and logistics made easy.
Team, the trajectory of the business looks very positive, and it looks like we'll be able to launch the country.
There's so much data.
Mom.
Yes, baby.
It says here, global warming and climate change is caused by the pollution from careless activities of human beings.
Wow!
Son, do you know I can turn my phone into a TV remote?
How's that possible?
It's so easy. Check this out.
Be smart, be fast with mega data from Zamtel. Get your 15 GB mobile data for only 100 kwacha, 30 GB mobile data for only 200 kwacha, and your 70 GB LTE data bundle with free Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Visit our Facebook page, website, or service centers countrywide for more information. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
Camnet TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. With Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the news. Works to dismantle the crane attached to the unfinished building in the Central Business District of Lusaka have resumed. Mundayo Works Limited team leader Dennis Mutemwa has disclosed that works would take 2 days to be completed as the company targets to bring down the crane by Wednesday, the 27th of April 2022. He says this is in an interview with Camnet News while on site.
Road traffic accidents in Zambia are often attributed to a number of factors such as human error. The country has continued to record a high number of road traffic accidents despite having a target of reducing the same by 50% by the year 2030. The same has continued to rob the country of human resource due to a high death toll. Statistics from the Zambia police for the first quarter of 2022 indicate that although the country recorded a reduction in the accidents in comparison to the same period of 2021 by 146, a higher number of deaths were recorded.
Apologies for the wrong clip. The Zambia Road Safety Trust, ZRST, has called for enhanced accident scene investigation in Zambia to determine the root cause of accidents, which will attract the correct remedies. In an interview with Camnet News, ZRST Communications Advisor Mr. Milo Simwale says Zambia is not on the right path of curbing road traffic accidents by 50% by 2030 due to the high number of preventable accidents and deaths that have continued to be recorded. According to the latest statistics from the Zambia police, the country recorded 7,255 road traffic accidents in the first quarter of 2022 and 568 deaths due to the accidents. More in this report.
Road traffic accidents in Zambia are often attributed to a number of factors such as human error. The country has continued to record a high number of road traffic accidents despite having a target of reducing the same by 50% by the year 2030. The same has continued to rob the country of human resource due to a high death toll. Statistics from the Zambia police for the first quarter of 2022 indicate that although the country recorded a reduction in the accidents in comparison to the same period of 2021 by 146, a higher number of deaths were recorded, standing at 568 in comparison to 405 for the first quarter of 2021. The high death toll recorded has concerned the Zambia Road Safety Trust, who say the country needs to change its approach of addressing the problem of accidents if to keep the same by 2030. In an interview, Trust Communications Advisor Mr. Milos Mwale notes that accident scene investigation has not been approached aggressively in Zambia, meaning that stakeholders cannot address the problem from the root cause.
We really need to enhance in terms of accident scene investigation so that even us as stakeholders, we should know what kind of intervention or awareness campaign so that we contribute and raise more awareness. Because if we just hear reports of speeding, human error, but we need more information to come out of that. In road safety, there are 3 E's. There is engineering, there is enforcement, and the education. So on the engineering aspect of it, we are talking about how is our road infrastructure in this country. Are they inclusive? In an event that maybe you have a tire burst, should it lead you immediately to die?
Mr. Mwale further notes that reducing the number of accidents and deaths is also imperative in tackling other problems like poverty, as this prevents the loss of breadwinners.
I think that is quite serious, as well as where we see more than 500 lives lost, within 3 months. I think that is not only heartbreaking, but actually disheartening. Though there's a slight decrease or reduction in terms of road traffic accident, but the road death is actually on a high side. And as you know, one life lost in a single road traffic accident is one too many. So I think a lot really needs to be done to ensure that we all work together and contribute to the reduction of road traffic accidents which are happening in our country.
Road traffic accidents have remained a major cause of concern in the country and one of the leading causes of death, hence calls for the same to be reduced. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Works to dismantle the crane attached to the unfinished building in the Central Business District of Lusaka have resumed. Mundayo Works Limited team leader Dennis Mutemwa has disclosed that works would take 2 days to be completed as the company targets to bring down the crane by Wednesday, the 27th of April 2022. He says this in an interview with Camnet News while on site.
The contractor engaged to dismantle the crane attached to unfinished building in Lusaka's Central Business District has gone back on site. This follows the indefinite delays that was necessitated by the lack of proper relevant crane to facilitate the bringing down of this old crane. Mundayo Works Limited team leader Dennis Mutemwa has disclosed that the company targets to finish by Wednesday, 27th of April 2022.
We're making progress. We managed to remove the counterweights, and as you can see, so far we've moved 2 sections of the bone. Today we are hoping that we should be able to finish up dismantling the boom and the jib, and then tomorrow we'll come back to the tower. So we're pretty sure that tomorrow will be done. Actually, we got a quotation from Ministry of Transport and Logistics, but before we could actually go to pay there, this crane was actually already on its way. So going to Kazumbula, sending people from here to Kazumbula, and then starting off from there, we saw that it was actually going to take us a bit more of time. And we are in a hurry to make sure that this thing comes down.
Meanwhile, Royal Lutanda building owners have assured proper maintenance and construction completion as soon as the crane is brought down.
Lusaka, we want to change the landscape of this city, and here we'll be putting up a very, very good building. The sponsors of this project are putting in about over $8 million US, and the value of this building is over $5 million US. So there's a lot of money being pumped in, and we hope to have a masterpiece here in the next few months.
Meanwhile, business activities in this area have since stalled till the works are completed. Alex Shimba, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Morning Joy for All Nations, an international network of East and Central African believers, has donated 270 water filters valued at $8,500 United States to residents in Mtendere East, aimed at cushioning the impact of the lack of safe and clean water. Making the donations in Lusaka's Mtendere East today, Kashaba Tribe President and co-founder of the network, Peter Newberger, says the filters will play a critical role to remove unwanted impurities from water such as sediment, taste and odor, hardness and bacteria to result in better quality water. Meanwhile, receiving donated items on behalf of the residents, Munali Member of Parliament Mike Mposha says the gesture has come at the right time when there is a need to enhance the fight against waterborne diseases such as cholera. More in this report.
On 11th of April 2022, Zambia recorded the first cholera case in Lusaka's Mtendere East, a development that caught the attention of a number of stakeholders, including the authorities in charge, to ensure that the breakout is addressed in the quickest possible way. This compound, like many other peri-urban compounds, continues to face water crisis since time immemorial. Morning Joy for All Nations, an international network of East and Central African believers, has since donated 270 water filters valued at $8,500 United States dollars to residents in Mtendere East, aimed at cushioning the impact of lack of safe and clean water in the area, thereby preventing possible cholera outbreaks. Making the donations, Kashaba Tribe President and co-founder Peter Nyobega says the filters will play a critical role to remove unwanted impurities to result in better quality of water. He says this was a response after a realization of several residents who are not having access to clean water.
Where each one of these filters has an impact with the family that is given to them, because they know they have safe water for 1 million liters. Each one of these filters is good for 1 million liters of clean water coming out, and that should last the family even up to 10 years. And so with the safety of the filters, these are high quality, high level filters, this will have an impact, and so families don't have to worry about waterborne diseases or illnesses.
Beneficiaries have thanked the organization for this gesture. Receiving the donated items on behalf of the residents, Munali Member of Parliament Mike Mposha says the gesture has come at the right time when there is need to enhance the fight against waterborne diseases such as cholera.
Notwithstanding all that, this gift comes at a time when we need to improve the monitoring of the quality of water. Therefore, the water filters we've received today will really help in that regard to ensure that our people can maximize the treatment of water.
Mr. Mposha, who is also Minister of Water Development and Sanitation, says government remains committed to providing quality water in line with Sustainable Development Goal number 6 of 2030.
Because of the cholera case which was announced, but we're going into the cold season when we expect again the COVID-19 cases to start going up. And therefore, for us to contain the spread of COVID, we must always ensure that we have access to clean water.
Residents, however, hope for that the challenge of lack of safe and clean water will be a thing of the past. Alex Shimba, Camnet News, in Lusaka.
More than 500 children in Chipata district have been vaccinated against polio after the launch of the second round of the polio vaccination campaign by the Ministry of Health. Chipata District Commissioner Elida Banda has urged people in her district to allow health workers vaccinate children below the age of 5 years during the door-to-door vaccination exercise. The second round polio vaccination campaign is expected to end on April 28, 2022. More in this report.
The Ministry of Health has officially launched the second round of the polio vaccination campaign in Chipata District. Chipata District Commissioner Elida Banda was guest of honor at the launch.
So nichoendekela kuti aliyese mwana atenge katemela kamene aka mwamene bakambira kuti ni number 2 number 1 inachitika kale iyi ni number 2 so tingopempha imwe makolo kuti bakafika ba health pakomo chifukwa izakhala door to door musachitire mwina koma mubavomese kuti bana banu batenge katemela kamene aka.
And Chipata District Health Director Dr. Charles Fanaka said the second round of the polio vaccination campaign is going to be conducted on a door-to-door basis in various communities of Chipata District.
Ziko la Zambia laganza kuti chite campaign ya polio chifukwa chakuti kuziko etiyanjana nayo kunabuka matenda ya polio. So tizankana marounds yali 4 yeti chitayo this week ni number 2. So i program etaipangira Madam DC, i program yo endera door to door. So tizankana wanzatu my youth facilities kusebenza na wa community bazambo enda komo pa komo kupasa katemera kapoli.
Meanwhile, Edson Mwale, a polio survivor, gave a vote of thanks. Sylvester Shimba for Zanis, in Chipata District, Eastern Province.
This is Camnet Television Main News. We take another break. We'll be back with international and sports news.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
We welcome you to the wonderful world of Savenda Electronics.
At Savenda Electronics, we pride ourselves in manufacturing high-quality electricity and water meters.
Boasting of the first of its kind state-of-the-art manufacturing plant in Zambia, Savenda Electronics manufactures customized smart electricity and water meters of international standards for both the local and international water and electricity utility companies. Our highly computerized factory, run by qualified staff, makes, calibrates, and electronically tests the smart meters to ensure only those meeting customer specifications are delivered to the market. Some of the main features which come with our meters includes notifications about low units, tempering, low battery, and many more customized features. Savenda Electronics provides on and off-site after-sales service and has favorable contract terms for water and electricity utility companies. Savenda Electronics, the real deal.
Welcome back. And now in international news, dozens of people have recently been killed in violence that includes beheadings and sexual attacks in a volatile county in South Sudan, the United Nations mission in South Sudan said Monday. The mission said it documented 72 civilians' deaths between February 17 and April 7 in Unity State's Leah County. Among the victims was a local staffer with a humanitarian group, Doctors Without Borders, it said. 64 cases of sexual violence, including gang rapes, were recorded in Leah in the same period. The attacks were carried out by armed youth from the neighboring counties of Koch and Mayendit. Here's a roundup of international news for more.
Opened, then immediately postponed. After 7 years of waiting, the Special Criminal Court of the Central African Republic was finally set to open its first trial. Set up in the capital to prosecute war crimes, genocide and other crimes against humanity committed in the country since 2003, the moment could have been key to fostering accountability in a country scarred by decades of violence. As a lawyer for one of the defendants explained, the lawyers for the defence and those for the civil parties have asked the court for a postponement because they feel that they are not ready. The case involved 3 members of the Return Reclamation Rehabilitation armed group accused of the massacre of 46 civilians in 2 villages near the northwestern town of Pawa in 2019. The trial's first hearing was set for April the 19th but postponed due to a no-show of the defendants' lawyers. As the prosecutor explains, this is a dilatory request because we have followed this entire procedure with them from the start to the finish for 3 years, and they had access to the procedures at all times, so it's not today that they can ask for a postponement to allow them to organise themselves. The new hearing has been postponed until May the 16th at the request of the defence lawyers, but coordinator of the Victims Association says it's been postponed too many times. We can't understand. It's really always devastating for the victims. And finally, we don't understand anything anymore. We are obliged to wait. Created by the government with UN sponsorship, the Special Criminal Court is composed of judges and prosecutors from the Central African Republic, France, Togo and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Over 70 people have been killed in recent inter-ethnic violence in Unity State's volatile Lear County in South Sudan. The United Nations mission in the country also reported 64 cases of sexual violence in the same period, between February the 17th and April the 7th. The attacks were carried out by armed youths from the neighbouring counties of Koch and Mayandit. Markets, homes, humanitarian facilities and warehouses were also looted and burned down. An estimated 40,000 people have fled the violence in Lear, with thousands reportedly crossing the Nile River to shelter in another state. The UN mission has deployed more peacekeepers to conduct regular patrols in Lear town. South Sudan has been plagued by sporadic violence since it gained independence from Sudan in 2011. Just 2 years later, the new country descended into a civil war in which tens of thousands of people were killed. The civil war ended in 2018 with a peace agreement between President Salva Kiir and Vice President Riek Machar. As well as communal violence, tensions have risen recently after the deputy president accused the president of violating a fragile truce.
In Burkina Faso, a military court started this Monday an hearing on the interests of the civil parties in the case of Thomas Sankara and his 12 companions. The lawyers for the civil parties demand that the state and the accused be jointly and severely liable and obliged to compensate all the damage suffered by the families. Thomas Sankara, seen by many as a revolutionary president, was murdered in 1987. Earlier this month, former Burkina President Blaise Compaoré was sentenced in absentia to life in prison by a military court in Ouagadougou. Compaoré is currently living in exile in the Ivory Coast. The Sankara family is asking for the symbolic sum of 1 franc as compensation for damages.
Let's have some sports news now. And now in sports news, Minister of Youth, Sports and Art, Elvis Nkando, has implored women in Zambia to be confident and take up leadership positions in any sports disciplines. In an interview with Camnet News, Mr. Nkando says women should change their mindsets of thinking that major roles in sports administrations must be administered by men. Nkando discloses that it is vital for both men and women to be in the decision-making of sports activities. Nkando has since encouraged women to support each other and not bring each other down. Nkando adds that women are important to the country's development even through sports.
Equality and integration are both essential to the development of sports. Though there has been a concerted effort by governing bodies in Zambia to promote the advancement of women into positions of leadership, the sports industry as a whole remains structurally biased. Minister of Youth, Sports and Art Elvis Nkando has encouraged women in Zambia to be confident and take up leadership positions in sports disciplines.
As long as women are also not biased in terms of gender, because we're not talking about gender, it's like a lot of people only thinks about women participation, but it's both ways. So in whatever we are doing, I think we need to take into account that both genders really participate in decision making. But as usual,
in an interview with Camnet Sports, Nkando says women should change their mindsets and consider engaging in sports administrative roles.
I think women should heed to that particular advice, because it's not only men who are entitled to make decisions for others. Even women are also human beings who are supposed to be supported. Yes, so I also want to encourage women that they should not put each other down, because that has been a trend, and that has really made women folk not to be part of the decision making because of pulling each other down. So my encouragement to women is that they should support each other, so that at the end of the day we are able to see a lot of women also participating in decision making.
Nkando discloses that it is vital for both men and women to be in decision-making process when it comes to sports activities. Blessings Chakwila, Camnet Sports, Lusaka.
To end Camnet television news, the headlines once again. KACHASU brewers in garden compound at loggerheads with government. Huge spending by political parties undermining the viability of democracy, charges TIZ. Government has charged that homegrown innovations key to job creation. In international news, dozens killed in violence in volatile unity state in South Sudan. And in sports news, sports minister advises women to rise above and take up sports administrative roles. The Camnet verse of the day, which is coming from Romans 5, verse 3 to 5. And not only that, but also rejoice in our afflictions, because we know that affliction produces endurance, endurance produces proven character, and proven character produces hope. This hope will not disappoint us, because God's love has been poured out in our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has given to us. Thank you so much for joining us in the news. My name is Jeffrey Siambo. Good night.